angels sing. Grace and mercy, peace and joy be yours in this Christmas season as we celebrate the first coming of Jesus and look forward to his return. Christmas is a big time. It's an amazing time. It's I think one of the best times the whole year long for everybody. Believer and unbeliever alike. It's an awesome time of the year, family, of getting together, of gifts and joy, songs, meals. It goes on and on. It's something that's taken centuries to develop to where it is today, but it is something that we all can rejoice in, maybe all the parts or at least most of the parts. It's an awesome time. Can't say it enough. It's an awesome time. I remember when I was a little kid, my parents were Christmas fanatics. I don't know about your parents. My parents went all out. There was the day we started Christmas on Christmas Eve when my father would get home from work. Later on, when my mom and dad both got home from work, we would start, and they would bring out onto the table snacks. And we would have so many snacks. My mom and dad, and my grandmother and grandfather, who also lived with us, spent 2 weeks, it seems, putting together all the snacks, cookies, candies, every kind of food you can think of. There were 11 of us in the household. And that table would just be filled with food. And then would begin the grazing. We would continue to eat from about 6 o'clock Christmas Eve until about 12 o'clock Christmas night. It was always there, something to eat. It was awesome. I've never been able to, as a dad and as a husband, head of a household or part of a household, never have I been able to put together what my parents put on the table. Then we would go, and sometime around 7, 8 o'clock at night, we would gather around the Christmas tree. And the presents would start. 11 people around the Christmas tree. One person at a time. You were never allowed to even look at another present. You had to have all your oohs and your ahs for the one who was opening up their present. As a little boy, I never got excited at looking at the dresses my sisters got. But I was supposed to look like I was excited and not look at, well, what's my gift? That would start at around 8 o'clock, and we would continue doing this until 3 o'clock in the morning. Every Christmas. I didn't even sleep that night. You'd think you would. But you see, Santa Claus comes now. I must have slept because I never saw what my parents did. But then you get up the next morning and there would be yet another bunch of gifts. Not only in the stockings, but all over the place. And we would spend, after my mom made her traditional Christmas morning breakfast, in addition to the snacks that were still on the table. So sometimes we'd have shrimp for breakfast. Then we would gather around the Christmas tree again, and it would take another 2 or 3 hours for us to open up the gifts from Santa. It was just a cool time. My parents were absolute fanatics. Now, later on I realized they were also really smart. Because I'd say that 90% of the gifts we got were clothes. That's smart. They had to buy us the clothes anyway. And they gave it to us. Oh, look, here's another gift. I would have had to buy you anyway. Enjoy. But we did. That was the point. The gifts. They're really a special part of Christmas, aren't they? Offices, businesses, clubs, families, All over the place, people are giving gifts. One gift after another. You get some really crazy gifts. Last year, Jody and I got a golf gift. Neither one of us play golf, but apparently we can practice now while sitting in the bathroom with our new golf kit. Hint to those who are going to the Christmas party this year from Peace, expect to see that gift re-gifted. Another one of the great things about Christmas is you do get a certain supply of gifts to give to other people later on. Gifts, a really big deal. Really stupid gifts like golf from the bathroom to amazing gifts that knock your socks off. I had an old clunker of a bike. It was a nasty bike. It was so bad that I spent probably about 20 hours just trying to get the rust off of the chrome with steel wool. And I kept on saying to my mom and dad, I really want to have a bike. Can I get a bike? We'll see. My grandfather, as I say, lived with us, and he pointed to this big box, and it had my name on it. It was a huge box. They had to put it in back of the couch next to the wall. And they said, my grandfather would say, "What do you think that is, Mark?" And I said, "I don't know." My grandfather was great at this. "You think it's a bike?" And I said, "There's no way that could be a bike. Bikes don't come in boxes." That's what a 9-year-old will say. Maybe a 10. Bikes don't come in boxes. Oh, okay. It's not a bike then. They saved that for the last gift for me that night. And it was a bike. And it was all put together inside this box. My parents had put it together and found a big enough box to put it back inside. And that morning, Christmas morning, it was probably early afternoon, I got on my bike and I rode it for the first time in my life. And you know what the coolest thing of it all was? My best friend, Ricky Hitz, got a bike too. And I could go faster than him for the first time in my life without a clunky bike. What a gift. What a cool thing. When I remember the gifts and when I remember the privilege and the joy of giving someone else a gift, it's just one of those really special things about Christmas. Because you see, Christmas is all about the gift. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I didn't grow up where Jesus was at all mentioned during the entire time that we had all these gifts going around. We didn't go to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We did go to church often, but we weren't Christians. We didn't believe. It's just something you did when I was growing up. You went to church. Everybody went to church. That's just what you did. We never prayed. We never talked about Jesus. Never read from the Bible. Never sang Christian songs. Nothing. And so I didn't receive the gift of Christmas that all the other gifts are about. I had wonderful Christmases. I had a great childhood. I had a great, every part of my life was awesome. It was a great, wonderful, gift-filled life. And there was a hole in my heart. I couldn't even tell you what it was at the time. I had no idea. It just was there. There was a emptiness. There was something that I knew to be missing in my life. But if somebody had asked me, what is it missing? I couldn't have told them. I had no idea. I could be in the middle of a whole bunch of people, having a blast, and feel lonely. I could be watching a magnificent sunset, because I grew up in the Los Angeles and San Diego areas and saw the sunsets on the ocean all the time. I could go and just watch that go down over the ocean. Nothing's more beautiful than a Pacific Ocean sunset. And all that peace would wash over me, and inside, no peace. I could have a moment of amazing laughter. I'm one who just loves comedy shows on TV. I don't know about you. I just love to watch comedy. I can watch any comedy show, and if it's even close to being funny, badly delivered and awful, I'll laugh. I just love laughing. I could laugh heartily without any joy. Not even a shred of it. And I knew there was something wrong with me. I thought it was like I was the only one. I didn't think anybody was as broken as I was. I just knew I was. And I didn't know how all these other people got by. I didn't know what was going on. How do you do it? Had I looked at myself from the outside, I would have been asking me that. How do you look so happy? How do you look like you're enjoying all this company? How do you look like you know why you're here? But it wasn't there in me. And one day, this is the craziest day of my life. One day, I'd graduated from college. I was well on my way into regular life. And I woke up on a Sunday morning. And I said to myself, what do I do today? I'm really bored. I got nothing to do. I know. I'll go to church. I don't even know why I thought of that. I went to church. There's nothing spectacular about that worship service. The people were really nice, very friendly. The pastor bored me to tears. I'm not sure what all I heard, but it was weird. I left with something different. And I thought to myself, I think I'll go back. And so I went back. And I made some pretty cool friends, really good time, really neat people. And the pastor really was a nice man. But most of the time I had no idea what he was talking about. But every now and then, I'd hear about Jesus. Every now and then, something would come out that would say to me, from God, Mark, you matter to me. You're important to me. And the craziest thing happened. I can't explain it. I started to understand the message. I started reading the Bible. I started going to Bible classes. Who would have ever dreamt Mark Whittaker would go to a Bible class? That's crazy talk. I started to learn about the real Jesus. Not the one they hear about all the time, the guy who's just like a tyrant. No, the real one, the Bible one. And I found out he could fix what was broken. I found out he could give me peace. Not only with myself, but with my parents and my sisters, and then friends, and then people who would really treat me nasty, and then with God. He gave me peace. I found out after a while, I was a salesman, and I would drive from place to place, and it was kind of weird. There was this change that took place inside the car. I could have fun and joy driving to my next appointment. I had a new joy in me. I didn't understand why it was even there, but it was. And just one thing after another, a sense of who I was, a sense of where I was going, the sense of having purpose in the world, a sense of knowing that God really cared about me, and I could start to care about other people and connecting, and all sorts of crazy things I didn't think could happen with broken Mark started happening. The gift of Jesus is that God wants us not to be broken. Wherever we're broken, in whatever way we're broken, the gift of Jesus is to come in and heal. Come in and remake us. It's a process that doesn't complete in this world during this time of our life, but it's a process that begins here. And it's a process that, as it grows in its intensity over a lifetime, actually has the ability to startle you, to make you think to yourself, how is this even happening? And how can I be where I am now when I didn't think I could even get close to this place? And then the promise, the joy, the fulfillment of the gift is everything that started in this world in getting us fixed comes to completion at the end. Because the end isn't an end. It's a great reversal. A new beginning. A new path. What I've been telling you about today is everything that we just read in the Gospel according to Isaiah. Isaiah is a prophet of the Old Testament. Very few people call him a gospel writer, and yet he is filled with good news. And so I invite you, I'm not going to comment on it anymore, but I invite you to turn to me on page 3. And what I'd like to do as concluding remarks is just read this with you. You are the people, I'm the reader. And I want you to notice that the beginning, the new beginning, the great reversal in these first few verses is the world itself is remade. It is fixed. So I'll read. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom like the crocus. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. Now this next section is all about the reversals I was telling you about. As God starts to fix us, He makes reversals happen inside of us. What used to be a place of sadness becomes even a place of joy. That is completed when He returns. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Behold, your God will come with vengeance. He will come to save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. And with all of those reversals begins in this last section a whole new way of life, a whole new way of living. In this world, we don't do a great job of it, but we make beginning stabs at it. That's why Christians are often called hypocrites. We know that. We know we don't get where we need to be. But God starts making the change in us so that the behavior starts to follow. But in heaven, at the end, it is in full blossom. For waters break forth in the wilderness and streams in the desert. In the haunt of jackals where they lie down, the grass shall become reeds and rushes. The unclean shall not pass over it. It shall belong to those who walk on the way. No lion shall be there, nor shall any ravenous beast come upon it. And the ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with singing.
Everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow shall flee away.
That's the Christmas gift. We've just rejoiced in it. One last story. A friend of mine was called to the side of his father, who was passing away. His father was a lot like my parents, one who had given him so much. And so he was able to go to his father in the last day of his life and say to his father, I just want to thank you for the gifts that you poured into my life. There were so many. And his father, who was very weak, but still very alert, sat up in his bed and looked him straight in the eye and said to him, thank you, but all I've wanted to be able to give you is my faith in Jesus. And if I can leave this world having given you that gift, I want to thank you. And his son said to him, Dad, thank you. Thank you. This Christmas, with your grandchildren, your children, your spouses, your friends, those who are very close to you and those who aren't so close, even people you have to work with sometimes. Give them that gift. Let them see Jesus in you. Pass it on to them. And there will be never-ending thank yous in heaven for the greatest gift, the true gift of Christmas. In his name, amen. Let's sing of the gift. What child is this? Why not just stay seated for this, okay? And we'll just sing those three stanzas, 370. Once again, I welcome you in Christ's name. I'm so glad you're here to be able to receive now the gift from the preschool as they share the gift of Jesus with you in just a few moments. Before they come up, we're going to receive an offering. If you're a guest among us, we want you to know it's our thrill and our delight that you're here today. Thank you for coming. Please feel absolutely no obligation whatsoever toward the offering. It's something the members here are glad to do. So when the offering plate comes by, let it pass if you're a guest. But we do ask that you put inside that offering plate a card that indicates you